Good morning, Devil Dog Day Trade community. My name's Michael, and I'll be taking you all through our day trading setup process for today, December 16th, 2021. Special welcome to all of you who have served or are serving in our armed forces. And here we do save the best for last, so an even more special welcome to all my fellow Marines out there. Semper Fi, Jarheads. We've got information presented in a bunch of different ways here. It is tailored towards every different level and of experience and or knowledge here, so there will be something for everyone. However, if something does not come across cleanly to you, please let us know. Just put a message in the chat, and I'll make sure that we answer to it while during the live show. And if you are watching later on, leave a comment or shoot us an email so we can make sure we get that answer back to you. Also, remember to check the channel for additional educational videos in our Day Trading 101 playlist. A lot of information in there that will help you understand what our process is, how everything is set up, what some of the words and phrases and terms mean that we use here. And it'll help you, like I said, understand it and get more out of these individual sessions here. So we had a big day yesterday with the FOMC announcement. Two sessions yesterday. We did, the early one, which helped set us up and prep for it, and then we actually did a live show at 2:30, looking at how crypto reacts to the announcement and also to the follow-on press conference there. So if you're interested in that, take a look at that. That gave us some really good information that we can use moving forward. And that we've got some good data there, good metrics, and potentially next time we'll even be able to take some trades during that time frame. You got some really unique opportunities there that we can make some pretty decent day trades now. We've got some more information on that area. So what happens now? So obviously that's what happened yesterday. So let's look forward real quick to what else is happening today that could impact our day. As you can see here, a lot of stuff has already happened in the European markets. There was a lot of things here for the Swiss franc, the euro overall, some German information. We had British pound did have a bunch of information there from their bank rate votes, monetary policy summary, their bank rates. They did increase that a bit. We also had the euro main refinancing rate, which stayed at 0, which was expected. And then at 8:30, we're going to have the European Central Bank press conference. And that has a tendency to move some of the currencies, particularly the euro, which then, of course, moves the dollar. And that does have a little bit of impact on the U.S. markets overall. Just a couple of things, minor ones for, again, U.S. markets. We've got the Philly Fed Manufacturing Index unemployment claims, and a couple of other things you'll see there at 9:15 and 9:45 as well. Not big movers there, but just a note that there may be a couple of times throughout this session, actually, and then throughout the early morning where you could get some small spikes in the indexes themselves. So let's take a look at our correlation markets here, and I will start with the DAX, and I'm just going to go straight to the 60-minute chart. So that's the only one that we have any areas of interest on. You will see we had this very, very significant gap up from where price closed out yesterday, which was absolutely expected based on the way the futures markets moved, especially overnight for the U.S. indexes. And that took out, didn't take out these areas that just gapped right over top of them. So therefore, they are no longer valid. But even if you had trades set up there, nothing would have happened to them because the entry points weren't met. Still have a bunch of strong areas below on our 60-minute chart. And then we would need to get, we're looking to get above this area right here at 15,840. That will prove that we are back in an intermediate uptrend. So that's really what we're looking for. That'll be the key indicator whether or not we're going to continue this move up here or if we're going to reset and correct back down. But overall, nothing really significant here that we are looking at. So I'm going to jump over to TradeStation and look at continue on looking at some of our index markets here. We'll start with the dollar. That is dropping, has dropped fairly significantly based on the news coming out of Europe and their banking decisions. Let's just zoom in on this area. We want to see how this consolidation zone is reacting. As you can see, we did get the spike up out of it yesterday, and now price is coming back down below. We're really looking for a close outside of this area to really get an idea of which direction that this is going to move. And we'll look at some of the lower time frames here to see if we can get a good indication of where that's going to be. So on a daily, TradeStation for me is delayed. It costs quite a bit of money to get a live feed here. I do have a live feed on one of my other platforms that I'm looking at off to my left, so that's why I'm just checking where current price is at, since this number here is delayed. So current price right now is actually sitting at 95.97. 0.97. So actually it actually looks like it's showing very close to the actual delayed data right now. So we've got an area of interest below here down at 95. That honestly, the more we get white space created here, the more likely this area is to actually work. We would look for just correlation with either the euro or some other market that would give us an indicator that this would be a good spot for a place to change direction there. So pull this off, and let's jump down here to our 240-minute time frame, and we've got really nothing here at all. Nothing new that's been created that we're interested in looking at. Again, down in this 95 area, about the same place that daily zone is. We've got this other zone here that we are looking at. So we'd be interested in when price comes down to there. Just look at the 60-minute chart here, because we've got a lot of areas that we thought were of high probability here, and but at the same time this was happening during the Fed announcement, so we were concerned about taking anything on this short of a time frame. So I'll zoom in on this area here. I think you can see this pretty well. So we ended up taking out this upper zone here, which again, not surprised. 60-minute zones don't typically hold for big announcements like what happened yesterday. So those are cleaned up, and then same thing for these lower ones. You did see we got small bumps out of them, but it didn't. Nothing actually would have closed out from a full trade perspective. So again, that was expected based on the size and magnitude of the announcements that were happening yesterday. So hopefully, if you were taking these, you were just taking them as very, very short, quick trades, get in, get out of them. But anything, we weren't expecting anything longer term moving from there. Now, the areas that we have down here on a 60-minute chart, these are much better. Areas I'll actually zoom in on these a little bit more over here, just so we get a better idea of what we're looking at. And so this is a really solid picture perfect zone, right? We've got the drop base rally out here, and so good strong picture here. We've got a lot of white space that we're coming down through right now, which means we've got a fair amount of imbalance down in these areas. So I would, these are ones you can certainly use to take other trades, but maybe on other currencies, or especially the euro, which is an opposite correlated market for the dollar here. And price is coming down even a little bit further right now, so we're at 959. Yep, dropped right down into this 9593 now. So we're down into this area here. Probably going to drop down into a lower area. I'll take a look at the euro USD next, just to see if there's a corresponding zone there that we may be interested in looking at, that we can actually see happening live. I'll do that real quick, just to see if this is a trade that we would want to get into. And we'll look at the 60-minute zone here. We did come up through these areas here that we had marked the other day. And just kind of as a reference point, so you've got this one single area right here, which technically this is a zone. It's not a great one. Certainly, with the zone in the dollar right there, is the only reason I would even consider taking something like this right here. Just because we do have additional odds enhancer that this zone may work. But just taken by itself, I don't think I would ever have actually used this one. There's no protection over here as you look left. This is just kind of sticking up all on its own. Again, we are outside of the Bollinger Band, so we got that going for us. There's no negative divergence on RSI, so this one is a little bit more hesitant on it of whether or not it's a solid zone to take. If you do, I would say just a little bit of additional risk mitigation on the trade here. And we'll come back to this and look at these other zones later. Just wanted to get that correlation view of where the dollar is at in comparison to the euro real quick. So moving on to the VIX, so volatility. We had actually talked about this yesterday morning of if the announcement would have sent prices down, which would have caused the VIX to spike up, that we were expecting it might go up into this area here, and then this would be a perfect area for it to drop back down. But interestingly enough, even though the Fed is accelerating its rate increases, the markets reacted positively to that and moved up quite strongly. So what we ended up seeing is this area here really did work again and pushed the VIX lower here. I still am not sold on this being the overall larger move down. I still think we need, the indications are that we still need some sort of a correction before we continue the stronger, longer move back up again. Nothing here on the 240-minute chart, though, that we are interested in looking at, and there was nothing on the daily either. So it really isn't anything below here at all. That's what's making this a little bit difficult to read and to use. So I just note here that you had a couple of candles here outside of the lower Bollinger Band. You're now back inside of it again. It's dropping, so this could be just another indication that we could still see a little bit further of a drop before we get that rise again for a correction. But nothing new here created from a zone perspective that we want to look at. So we'll just keep on moving out here. Let's take a look at our index markets now. And so starting with the S&P 500 ES, we'll look at the daily because we're starting, we not all-time highs yet again, but we are getting close to it on some of these. But we at least have a chance to look at negative divergence on RSI, and we are not seeing that right now. I know you guys can't see the little pop-up that comes on my cursor here, so I'll just read these numbers off. But as price has gone up for RSI, we're at 53.13 here, and now we're up at 58.74. Just want to make sure, 58. Everything here is below 58, so there's no negative divergence, so no indication that this could be looking at a correction now, since we don't have any zones up and left that we're looking at here. So we would just be looking at for that. Also, price coming outside of the upper Bollinger Band area here. That would be the only indications we could have of a correction coming. Again, since we don't have supply zones that we can use up in here, but nothing like that at all. There's no indication that price is going to slow down here yet. So we talked a little bit about this area yesterday as well on the 240-minute chart, and let me just... So basically what we had said when we were in this area yesterday prior to the announcement, if price dropped below this area, we could look for that bigger move down to the daily zone. If it went above it, we were looking, that was an indication that there's a lot of strength in the market, and that's the time when you get back in on those short pullbacks for long positions moving up. And so if you watched that on a lower time frame yesterday, you saw that happen about a half a dozen times, where on this huge move up on this candle and then the other succeeding ones, there were a lot of places where you could look for the smaller time frames, getting back in on the small pullbacks, and there were half a dozen trades that worked out really well moving up here. So this area got taken out. It's not a surprise for us, and now we have a new zone created on a 240-minute time frame that's again showing some additional strength here. If you look left, there's not a whole lot of indication over here to the left, so what I would do is to use other index markets to see if there's any other correlation that this one would work right here. But again, just a good indication that there is some additional strength in it. Looking at our 60-minute chart, and again, on something else that we did talk about yesterday, we typically don't take trades the lower time frames during the announcement, and this would also been a short in an index market, which again has a strike against it. You will see that this first zone here actually worked very small trade, about a 1, maybe 1.5 to 1. But then the other one, it blew right through it overnight. Again, completely expected, just because of the strength of the market. And again, you rarely take shorts, never take counter trend shorts in an index market. It just really got the whole system is just set against those. But we haven't created anything else new here, so nothing really to look at of what we can find to actively trade on a 60-minute chart here. Let's jump down to a 15-minute. And again, I'll point this out not as an indication of what to do, but just as an indication of what can happen. We did see that with the announcement yesterday, price came through this first zone pretty quickly, but did touch the second zone, and this was the area that held and pushed price, all the way up from 46. It was actually 46.02 was the entry for that one, and we're now trading at 47.32. So it's very significant move. That was the catalyst for it. You'll see that we had a 240-minute zone on YM on the Dow, and also a couple of other correlating zones on some of the other indexes, which kind of gave credence to this area was going to be relatively strong. But again, it's lower odds, lower probability to take any of these trades on the smaller time frames during an announcement of that magnitude. So looking at our 15-minute areas here, we are seeing some potential weakness starting here. But again, remember, these would be counter trend trades, so be very cautious. But you do have this set up right here. If you look left, you've got an opposing zone that it did take out. Look left again, you got this little pivot high that the price changed right here again. So if your trade plan allows you to take counter trend shorts on an index market, then here would be a good potential place to do so. I'm looking down and left. Got interesting areas here on the in the overnight trading, but again, I'm just very hesitant of overnight trading when you're coming into the U.S. Open, the U.S. market open. So I'm just leery of that. But just note that there is some good structure here. So again, if you don't have those same concerns with your trading plan, then there are some potential areas to get back along here. I'm just not seeing any that I'm comfortable with at this point. All right, let's look at NQ. And so on a daily time frame, again, just to look for this, since we don't have any zones here, but we can still look for other indicators of what price might be doing. And as we look here for any negative divergence on RSI, I'll just read the numbers off. We've got 57.70, and then come over to this one, we've got 55.57. So we actually do have some here. On NQ, we've got a little bit of negative divergence on our RSI, so just know that there's an indication that a correction could come out of here. Again, nothing that we would trade or nothing we would look for a long-term move, but just it might be setting up for a correction there. Our 240-minute area, again, same setup that we had on the ES. Price was right between these two areas. Whichever one of them broke, that's where we knew price was going to continue more strongly up through there. We've got this same zone now created on a 240-minute time frame as on ES. Really key note here, though, this purple line is still, this is our confirmed trend change line, and we've been talking about this for days and days and days now. Price has got to break here before we confirm that we are in an uptrend on the NASDAQ futures market, and that has not happened yet. So just you can see this is a very strong area of resistance, and price cannot get back through there. And so be careful of getting on any short-term longs until we break that. That will be a key indicator of where the overall index markets are going to head. Okay, on a 60-minute time frame, had the same area here that we had on ES as well. The top of this area over here for the on a 60-minute chart, again, rarely take those during an FOMC announcement, so that did not work. In this area here, we saw, just ended up keeping price down here for a little bit, but again, the announcement just blew through it, again, like it wasn't even there. We did have this area form right at the close yesterday, and you'll see price dipped back down into it in overnight trading and then bounced back up there. I wouldn't take this again, but just note that it did create some additional strength there, just a good indication that we've got an overall stronger market here. All right. Looking at a 15-minute chart, we've got a couple of interesting areas. We've got the same one here that we saw on the 60-minute. Already been used. I just saw that earlier this morning when I was looking at things, so wanted to point that out. And then we've got an area below as well. I would look for, again, just some other indication, other index market with the same zone, or some negative divergence on RSI on a lower time frame, some other indicator before you take this area right here. It is a good zone structure. It's just not perfectly clean. So just a little bit of additional potential risk there. Same areas we have on the ES as well. We've got this little 15-minute area zone here. Again, just make sure that your trade plan allows you to take counter trend trades on an index fund before you do that. Again, just some additional risk associated with those types of trades. Looking at RTY, and the only real interesting thing we've got going here right now is on the daily chart. Again, just to reaffirm what we talked about here, these are our zones, technically speaking. What we were looking for is we needed the purple line here, the 2094 line, to break before we were interested in taking them. It had to take out enough of this white space to where we would be interested in grabbing a pullback here. So I'm not taking these because that did not break right there at this point in time. As the day goes on, if I get some other indication, like down in the 60-minute or even a 15-minute zone pops up while price is in either of these daily zones, then that might be a good time to take a confirmation trade out of there, but not going to do anything automatically here. There's just not enough indication that these zones are going to work with any strength. And there really isn't anything else on RTY. I'll just bring up the 60-minute zone just to try and confirm our 60-minute chart. And again, if I'm looking up and left, there's nothing that I'm seeing here. If I look down and left, I've got, again, some of these areas here you can see, but these are all overnight trading. And I just, not interested in taking overnight zones during the main U.S. open, the U.S. market open time frame. And then just to double check the 15-minute area, you'll see we've got a little bit more strength in RTY than we had in the other ones. I didn't create any of those short positions there that we're looking at. This zone right here it's a good looking zone. Really good indications as you look left for potential moves in it as well. However, it's at the top of this entire move up, and you don't really have any other correlation areas on the the other indexes that this would work. If you take it, this is a short-term trade, get in, get out of it, and I just be very cautious with that one. Okay, YM, I'll just show this because this was the other potential indicator you could have used to get on additional long positions yesterday. On a 240-minute area, you did see price came right into this area of interest that we had, and actually so this was again matched up with the 60-minute zones on ES, and same thing with the general area on NASDAQ as well. And then we were looking for this upper area to break to know that there was additional strength overall in the market here, and it certainly did. Created this 240-minute zone as well, so now you've got 3 index markets all with this zone that created in the same spot. If price comes in here with all 3 of them at the same time, great indication that this area would work. So again, that's what you're looking for when we talk about correlations for these price areas. And then look at the 60-minute zone here real quick, and this is the same thing we saw in a couple of the other markets where you had it worked. Price did respond to it, but not for a full trade, primarily because, again, lower time frames like this typically don't hold with larger announcements like what happened with yesterday. And as I look down and left here, I'm not seeing anything that jumps out on the 60-minute chart that makes it interesting to take. All right, let's look at some of our other commodities futures. I know we haven't had a chance to look at those in a couple of days. We will do a deeper dive into that tomorrow. We'll do a Futures Friday, where we'll spend a majority of our time tomorrow looking at a bigger segment of the futures market. So if you're interested in that, please tune in tomorrow. Nothing really look at a daily time frame. We're still in that consolidation area. You can see that pretty easily even here on the 240-minute chart. We just keep bouncing back and forth between these 2 areas here. This zone here came in. So if you'll notice that sometimes I draw my zones with entry points deeper into them, right? This one here, the zone should have been all the way up on top here. That was the actual zone itself. So if you were using that, then this one worked. I typically find, though, that oil tends to go deeper into zones, so that's why I draw my entry points lower into them when this happens, though. So my entry point was here, and I saw price come down into it and then move away. To me, that's okay, that this trade is done, and my entry point was just inaccurate for it, so I wouldn't have taken it again here. So overall, this thing did work. I just didn't take it because it didn't actually meet my entry point. And then we're just, again, bouncing back and forth between these 2 areas here. I would actually look for this area down here is probably getting stronger and stronger the more time passes, because you're creating this white space here. So when you drop below it, you're going to have a much higher level of imbalance down here. So this would be a great area to get back on another long position in oil. 60-minute time frame, we had a couple of zones work out really, really well here as well. I just wanted to point those out. And so upper left here, you had this one, obviously, clearly worked very, very well, and is actually, potentially even still moving further down here. And then price came right back down into this lower one, and this got us a 4-to-1 as well at the 70-60 area before it then got passed through. There's nothing else here that I'm interested in. We're still too much in the middle of this white space here. So I want to make sure we get outside of it before we're interested in taking any additional trades. And we do have this one sitting right down here at 69.10. If price comes back down here, this is one of the ones that has a high probability of working out well. 15-minute time frame. Anything that we want to get into today? Short day trades here. Nothing up and left. Right, on a shorter time frame, we are in an uptrend here, so we want to be cautious of taking any shorts. As I look down and left, there's nothing additional here that interests me. So we're going to be limited on what trades we can take in oil today until we get below this overall white space here. All right, gold. So the 240-minute chart's the one we want to look at here. We had this area that we had interest in. Did get confirmation on a 60-minute time frame of negative RSI divergence, so it allowed you to take this trade. We didn't quite hit our target, and then price came back down through it yesterday with the announcement, and I was a little surprised that price didn't continue down through here. In my head, this was kind of a make or break point overall for the market. Now we are still you'll see here, we still are in this, we've got this trend line now that price is struggling to get up through. If price drops down from here, this is going to be a bigger move down overall. So that'll be something that just to look out for. That'll be kind of your tell. If we can get a candle to close above this line right here, yeah, you're probably looking at some additional strength in there. The dollar is, looking at my live feed over here on the left, the dollar is still showing a lot of weakness there, which means there could be some additional strength coming in for gold. And let's just take a quick look at the 60-minute chart, see if there's anything that has come up that we are interested in. And I'm not seeing anything quickly here. And yeah, look down and left, there's nothing at all. I will look at the 15-minute chart, even though, as you guys, anyone that's listened to these things more than once or twice probably heard me say, I struggle with finding good solid zones on smaller time frames with gold. And so I tend to stay away from it and usually only trade larger ones. And honestly, most of my gold trades are in options on the GLD ETF. I just use the futures ones to map price action, since it's open 23 hours a day versus the 7.5 that the ETF is open. So nothing up and left, right? There's nothing even close enough that I'm interested in seeing. So I was looking down and left here. No formations that are solid enough in my head that I'm willing to take the risk on. All right, let's see. Natural gas. We've got some pretty good movement in natural gas the last couple of days. So let's see here. We are still just, since we don't get a chance to look at this every day, just to set context, we are coming out of this weekly zone here. So I would expect price to continue to move up from here. This is a strong zone, and we saw some pretty good indications that we had additional strength as we were coming out of it. And I'll show you those right now. So in a 240-minute chart, we had this same zone created in that weekly area. And as you can see, I had just drawn it a little bit too close there. So just my fault for not, adding some additional, room to wiggle, since this was, a smaller zone inside of a much larger one. Very good strength coming out of there. Price has come back down a couple of times and tried to break through here and hasn't. What we really need right now, though, is price has to break this line right here to continue the uptrend. This happens, you will be in a confirmed uptrend again coming out of that weekly zone. Until then, though, I would be a little bit hesitant about taking longer term trades here. Maybe if you're going to get in on a day trade and just do a smaller target. All right, 60-minute chart. Here, if I'm looking up and left, I've got nothing that I'm interested in. Again, we still have the bias to the long side because we're coming out of that weekly zone. So looking for areas to get back in on it, looking down, and I'm just not seeing anything at all. Just a quick note, though, as I'm looking at this now, because I don't get a chance to even look at natural gas every day either. But if you look at this area right here, right on the 60-minute zone, we saw, price responded to it, but it has now gone above it. So this is just another indication that there is overall strength here rather than weakness. So it's just a better indication that that the weekly zone really is working the way we expect it to. And then anything quick for any day trades today on our 15-minute area. Again, we're going to be, biased towards longs. So I'll look down and left. And everything that I'm seeing down here, while the structures may be okay in some cases, there's no other indications as I looked left that anything is going to really hold here. All right. We'll look at the Nikkei futures. Look quickly at some context here on a daily chart. We're still in the middle of everything. Here we didn't get any clear breakouts either up, below or above that we were looking for to really understand where this market's going longer term. So again, just from a that perspective, we're still stuck in the middle there. 240-minute chart, we came very close to our entry on our demand zone down here. Didn't quite get down there. We've created a couple of other ones though that are of interest at least. So this one up the top here in particular, same area that we've got our other US index markets have there. So good indication that this one may have even some additional strength. And then I would just note here, as price came up out of this area, this zone, weaker looking zone, but still a zone, was created and was used, but it's barely touched, and it's along on an index market that is currently showing some additional strength now. So I wouldn't say that it's not usable again, but you would just need some additional indications that it's going to work again. But just keep in mind this is an area of potential strength or potential imbalance where there could be some unfilled orders at. $60-minute time frame for NK. As I look down and left, let's see, this one here was at midnight, so it did create this zone at midnight. If you look left here, you'll see it did take out this rally-based drop here. That's a good indication. This was also close to, if not at the open for the Japanese market as well. So I would consider this a little bit stronger overnight, but it is an overnight market, so those are okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and mark that one off. I think this is a reasonable trade to take. And I don't go any lower on Nikkei just because of the volume of the market. I trade higher time frames only in this market. So let's look at our bonds. So we did have quite a bit of movement yesterday with them, and even some just over the last hour or so. Again, just context for them. We're still sitting between these areas on a daily chart, so no clear indication yet whether we're in a long-term up or down move. This is just a consolidation area. We got a lot of white space forming. So wouldn't get into any longer-term trades right now. On a 240-minute time frame, we had talked about this last week where we had this very clear downtrend line that what we were looking for is price to continue down here until it hit our zone here, and then that would be a good indication to get on a longer-term trend, longer-term trade, moving back up again. It broke through there without coming down and hitting our zone, so we knew that that this probably wasn't going to work next time around. It did create some additional zones up here, and so this area right here does seem to be a fairly strong one that we're looking at. I would still, at this point, if price jumps up into this area here, absolutely look to take these trades moving back down again. And again, we'll look for additional confirmation that these same zones exist on either TLT or the US 30-year futures, and that will give us just another indication that these are stronger zones. We had this 60-minute area here that we were just interested in watching. Sorry, 180-minute area here, but as you can see, the price with the announcement yesterday really did, just crush this area, which was again not unexpected because we knew it wasn't a stronger one. On a 60-minute chart, well, just a note, right? You saw this Bollinger Band, coming down here, and you see all of the very, very long wicks coming out of there. There's some people out there that look at that and go, okay, that points towards another zone below. There's other people read that there's a lot of strength right in that area. Both of those views are somewhat conflicting, so it's hard to really know which one of those is accurate. I don't use them other than just I mean, it's clear that there's a fair amount of strength down here. Otherwise, those wicks wouldn't exist at all. But I don't look at them and say there's something else down here that I need to be looking at, that I'm going to take a trade on. We've got, these two areas right here that are zone structures, but they're not strong ones. But it would at least indicate why price is responding to them. Right, came through this first one here. Second one, very, very strong response to it. But again, we're still right in the middle of everything here, so there's just no good, clear picture of where price is going to go until we get out of this white space. All right, look over in the U.S. market, or the U.S. 30-year bonds. A little bit more weakness here than we have on the 10-year. And nothing to see on the daily time frame there. It hasn't changed in several days. But on a 240-minute time frame, we had the same area that this downtrend line that we were looking to break. It didn't hit our area of interest either. Still has come up through it. So these are the same zones that we have on the 10-year bond futures. However, much, much further away, so highly unlikely that we would get into them at the same time. So it probably won't have any help from a correlation perspective there. And nothing else lower and left here that we're interested in at this point. Price has just got to get out of these areas and get into something that is much more of a higher probability for us. And I won't waste our time here. There's nothing on a 60-minute chart either that is of interest. So take a look at TLT, just because of the movement that we had yesterday. And since I pointed this out a couple of days ago, we'll bring it up again. We had these areas right here. And what I was looking for with this one in particular, in taking it, and I actually did in one of my retirement accounts as an options trade here. We had a little bit of confirmation on the TY, the 10-year futures, that this area had some strength to it. So took a trade there based on that. And as you can see, price is responding to this very, very well. Just looks like right now, if price were to open on this, we would open about the same place we closed yesterday, maybe a little bit lower. So I'll look for some additional, any areas below that we're interested in, and we don't have anything all the way down here to 146.22. And while they're not strong areas yet, because price hasn't moved out of them, in a significant manner, we are starting to create some additional 60-minute zones here that would just be areas of interest for now, but is indicating that there's some additional weakness here, which is means it fits this trade fairly well. Just mark those. All right, and let's go ahead and take a look at some of our cryptocurrencies now as well. So I'll flip back over to TradingView for that. And let me get... So starting with Bitcoin. After the moves yesterday, it basically did not a single thing. So this whole area that we're looking at right here, up in the upper right chart here in the 60-minute one, this is just the back and forth, starting to create some additional white space here, and we don't have any zones at all that we're interested in here, except for in the 240-minute chart. You can see we are in this area right here. It's already been used. This is the third time that prices come up in here, so I wouldn't expect it to hold. However, the zone right above it has some additional strength in it as well. So just again, we're still learning how to day trade the crypto market, so I don't have a lot of data yet. We're gathering that right now, and so no good direction on what to do here, other than we're just going to watch it, track these things, document them, and then over the weekend we'll put together a good rule set about how we're going to be trading them. Ethereum. So we've got this same area on the 240-minute chart as well. And we broke up pretty significantly through this first one, showing a little bit of resistance here before it gets to the second one as well. Again, this zone structure and movement is actually a little bit stronger than the one on Bitcoin. So I would be interested. I don't think price is going to come up through here very, very strongly. If it does, we do have this area right here as well. That would be an area of interest. And I'll leave it as an area of interest, not an actual zone to take, just because there isn't really good, if you look left, you don't have a whole lot of indication that there's a lot of strength there. All right. Don't see anything else on a 15-minute chart that I'm interested in, so let's go to DOT. And we do have, again, you're going to see this a lot, right? All the markets here that seem to be somewhat correlated, they've all got this same 240-minute zone area here. This one has already come up into it once and worked, sort of, right? But there's some strength in there, so it wouldn't surprise me if we got a reasonable trade out of here, maybe a 2 or 3 to 1 profit ratio there. But again, a couple of other additional zones. The one up here on top is even stronger, right? You get out of this whole white space area here. You look left to take out this zone right here. So pretty good indication that there's some additional strength up in this one. Dogecoin, we're just, we're creating this consolidation area now on the 60-minute chart, but we're not really creating any other zones. We've got an area of interest right here on a 60-minute, right? But this price here didn't take out this next pivot high, so I would just be, leery of taking this one too long. Maybe just do a quick trade there if you can. It's not gonna, but price could come back down through here, I think, pretty easily. AVAX is actually right up into a daily zone right now. Good strong move up over the last couple of days here, but we are in this area here. This is a good picture perfect zone. We have the rally, base, drop here. So fair amount of strength in this picture. If you follow the technical rules of a picture perfect zone, you would look for the entry into the upper zone versus this closer one here. But both, I usually take them both anyways, just because one of them is a high probability of working. And if I get, one trade with a 1-to-1 loss and then one trade with a 4-to-1 win on it, then that's a good profit margin to get there. And we already had the area on the 240-minute chart here work, but again, another indication that there is some additional weakness here that would come in at this area. And nothing else that I can see here that we're interested in at this point. All right. Let's see, Shibu here. We just cannot get out of this daily area. Sorry, didn't mean to do the 4-hour chart, meant to do the daily one. So daily chart here, we got this area. It's just, price just cannot get out of here. So there's not a whole lot of strength in this demand zone down here. It is not creating anything above, though, that we're really interested in either. So we've, right here, you've just got to wait for this 240-minute zone to come up to grab anything back down again on this one, if it even gets up there anytime soon. All right, Matic. We've got a 240-minute area that we're coming up to. Fairly strong zone. Would certainly look to take that. But yeah, nothing else new here. Nothing new on a 60-minute chart either. CRO. Nothing in the higher time frames. This is the second time we've come up into the 60-minute area here. So showed a fair amount of strength coming out of it the first time. So it'll be interesting to watch and track this to see if there's any real good reason to take these zones multiple times in crypto. I usually don't do those in our standard trading, but we'll see if crypto's any different. WBTC, I think is wrapped Bitcoin, and so because this is corresponding to Bitcoin itself, you got this same 240-minute chart area here, and you can see we did pop slightly above here again. Look to take something on this upper zone right here is probably a little bit stronger as well. Again, but it's correlated with Bitcoin itself, so I would use that as your primary driver there. Litecoin, we have just a daily zone that we're still coming back out of. Let me pull this up so we can get a better look at that. Fairly strong daily zone right here. Have been into it 3 times now, but haven't broken any of the lows right here on this one. So pretty good indication that this is a strong zone. Good area to probably get in on this and just ride this one up for a pretty significant move up. The only thing that we have that's in our way on this is a 240-minute zone, but not up until you get all the way up to the 188 area here. But again, this is a fairly strong zone, so I would use this as a target for at least a portion of any long positions that you get into because of the daily zone below. UNI, again, this one seems to be correlated with some of the bigger currencies. So you've got this same 240-minute look right here, and it is responding to it relatively well. I think according to the rules for a PPZ zone, which is what this is, picture perfect zone, you would really the upper zone has more strength than the lower one does. Just keep that in mind as you're looking at that one. Algo, a fair amount of strength over the last couple of days in this one. Just really quick looking through, and not seeing anything on a 240-minute chart, not seeing anything on a 60-minute either. Some pretty good retracement areas on a 15-minute chart. You've got the ones that are lower down here, but you've also got a really nice picture right here in the middle. And again, price would have to retrace in here with the trend to take these. These would not be counter trend trades, so make sure you're watching for that. If you're interested in taking these would need to be with the trend trade. So in other words, you'd have to come in probably sometime before the 148 area. Price would have to come down here. If it goes up much higher than that, you'll probably end up getting this this normal up and down movement right here, which would end up changing your overall trend before you get back down to these areas. All right, link. So again, we've got this same look on our 240-minute area here, and as you can see, blew through the first zone, which was expected given the fact that this, again, picture perfect zone rules would have said that the upper zone is the stronger one. We are responding to that somewhat. Just keep that in mind. Price is probably not going to come through here very easily if it does at all. Nothing on lower time frames either here. So this is Bitcoin Cash. So this should look fairly similar. Actually, it doesn't look quite as similar to Bitcoin or even wrapped Bitcoin either. So we don't have quite the same look on the 240-minute chart. I'll just bring that up just to show you what I'm talking about here. What we would have expected to see is, this double zone right here. But we don't. We only have the upper zone on this one. But that still is a fairly strong zone as well. So if this one comes up in here at the same time as Bitcoin or even wrapped Bitcoin does, those will be pretty good indications that there would be something to take here. We did go through this area on the 60-minute chart, and there's nothing really up above it that I'm interested in. And I also look down here, nothing interesting to get in on going back long either. UST, I think this is a one that will track, because it's just it's a dollar matching currency. There's a name for those. I'm pretty sure. I think I remember seeing it yesterday. I just don't remember off the top of my head of what those are called. Dollar stabilized coins or something like that. There won't be a whole lot of trading with those, right? Because those price movements are very, very, very small. Just general look overall here. There isn't anything that I'm interested in. Won't spend our time here. And I think DIA is the same thing. Yep, that's another stable coin. So looking at some of the currencies that we currently have in our wallet right now, we've already looked at some of these, but amped. So on a 60-minute chart here, we saw that yesterday with the FOMC announcement, right, just completely blew through these zones like they were standing still. But it didn't create anything else in here. But just because it's here, we'll draw it out, right? This is your perfect consolidation zone or area look, right? I mean, you just price movements have just gotten smaller and smaller and smaller, and eventually it's going to break out from here. But there's nothing, we can't really use anything here because there's no zones around it to know which direction it's going to break out in. So, but this is just a really good example of what one of those areas looks like. All right, Clover. We had, let me just zoom in on, or bring this one up. Okay, this was a long position, so we aren't concerned about that. Price movements here are very, very small, so it can be hard to see zones when you're literally only, you're getting full hour-long candles that are only one tick size. But just this area looks interesting to me, right? Just because you're just looking at the overall context of it. It doesn't, hard to follow the exact zone structure, but I like the way it just looks, and so I'd say there's a fair amount of strength in here if you were looking to get, add to a position or get in on Clover. This is probably a pretty good spot to do so. We've already looked at Shibu and CRO. Dogecoin we looked at, XLM. So we've got this same 240-minute area that we've got on a lot of these ones. We haven't hit it yet though. So depending on how much more white space we create here, this may end up being a very strong zone because this would be the first spot that price would get to when it comes out of that area there. And nothing on the smaller time frames. ANKR, good strong daily zone that we're still coming up out of right here. Another one, but not, you've got a fair amount of movement here. It would be a 50% overall increase in price just to get to this daily zone, but that is a fairly strong one. And right before there, you've got this 240-minute zone as well, so just be cautious of that. Lower probability for this one because as you look left, this isn't the exact zone that took out these lower areas here, but still probably maybe use this for a price target rather than an actual trade coming out of this area. All right, nothing on the smaller time frames. Let's go over to QNT and to bring this one up on the daily area here because I really like this zone from a daily perspective. If we can get a drop back down into here, this would be a great spot to probably take a bigger position, one that you'll hold for a much longer period of time, all the way down here. Nothing else getting in your way as you look up and left either. So really, really good indication there. And then as you can see from the 240-minute time frame, there's a fair amount of strength still. Oops, I didn't mean to move that. So no, I still have to track that one. So a fair amount of strength down here still, even before you get below these areas. Let's see, 60-minute area. This is an interesting setup right here. It didn't take out enough to the left, so I'm not sure that I'm 100% sold on it. This would be the picture perfect zone setup. Now in this case, the rules would have said that to take the earlier zone, but that one didn't work. So you've still got this other upper zone up here as well. Again, not completely sold on it, but we'll track it and at least add it to the metrics to help us build our rules from that. Just real quick through these last couple. FET, I don't have any zones drawn for this one, so it won't spending time there. On spell, we've got this 240-minute area that we're coming up to right now. It's got a fair amount of strength to it. So look for that. And then IoT, we hit that same 240-minute area. Price definitely dropped below there, but nothing below that has any strength to bring up out of there. So we'll end crypto on at this point for today, and then just a couple of reminders for coming up. So tomorrow we've got our futures view. So we'll spend most of the session going through futures, and then we are recording a crypto educational video. Look for that to come out early next week, and then we'll start day trading crypto on Monday of next week as well, and we'll have our full set of rules and processes that we're going to follow for that. So to be a learning experience, you kind of get to see live and in color how we go through, how we track things, how we determine what those rules are, and then how we start taking actual day trades in a new market. So thanks all for joining for today. Appreciate the interaction. Remember to subscribe to the channel so you get notifications of when these additional videos come out. Have a happy and safe trading day, and we'll see you tomorrow at 8:15 Eastern.